What's up guys? Today I'm about to show you how I made my Lerdge EX from this to this. Hopefully I'm gonna add some image so you guys will see the difference before and after. Finally, it's time for me to upload this video. I want to show you from very beginning until the end of process how I started with this idea of doing the dual extrusion for dual color printing. And before we start, I need to make it clear that this video is totally unscripted. That's how I do my thing. I may do some mistakes, but forgive me for that. I am new YouTuber. So guys, let's just start this video without further ado. And make sure you give me a like and comments and all this good stuff so the algorithm can show more people that need this video. First, I started by seeing that Lerdge IX in their website, in their Instagram page, they have this dual one hot hand that can take dual extruder, right? And I contacted their Instagram page and I asked them if they already have some enclosure for it, and the Instagram manager told me nope, they don't have it for Lerdge EX. So I said okay, I'm going to make it. Since I started messing around with the applications of designing Sharp 3D Sharp, something like this on iPad. Also they have version for desktop or computer, your Mac computer, Windows computer. I'm not sure if they have for Windows actually, but it's quite expensive, that application. The only disadvantage of that application, but it's super easy to use, and I started enjoying learning it. At beginning was a little tricky, but now I just enjoy designing everything. So if you have a 3D printer, my advice, start making your own models, so it will be much fun, guys. You can do anything you want. You can learn by Fusion 360, that is free application. You can just go and download it, or you can just choose any other CAD application. There are so many out there. But I just tried Shapry 3D, so I'm just going to show you some samples that I did with this application. So the first thing I did is taking measure of this build plate, because for the Lerdge HotEnd is bigger. So this is the Lerdge enclosure, right? And since the Lerdge enclosure is too small for that HotEnd, we need to design a new one. Needed also to have a new base. This base will connect to the printer X-axis, right? Since the enclosure will be larger and a little taller, this is not enough. I took some measure and until I got it right. But guys, this you're seeing in this table is just the final result of so many so many prototype I did. Here are they, actually some of them, some are not even here. A lot of plastic wasted. I printed them all in PETG because PETG is my favorite material to use for the printing parts, right? But so far this one is working perfect. I have been using it for already 2 weeks and no problem. I even share with you guys on the Facebook, our Facebook page. But I want to make it perfect before I share with you guys. First, let me clean up this thing and then we will continue our video. Okay, we are back. Guys, I cleaned up almost everything, but I left this model. This was one of the first prototype model. I left this one here for you guys to see. And also I left this one. This one was a clone for this Lerdge plate. I was afraid to replace it because I thought this one is a different material. If you guys know, it's a different material. It's not printed part, right? I thought maybe the PETG will not stand the heat or the shocks, the beating that this one can take. But so far my PETG printed part is perfect. You just need to, this is the final actually, this is not, right? You just need to print it with 80% infill. So you make sure that it is very sturdy and strong. Make sure. If you see my first prototype here is different than this last one. This last one has a slight angle on this side. Let me put them like this. You'll see. This last one is smaller. This one is taller. The first one was taller. This is smaller. This last one, and it has a slight angle. Why this angle? Well, first time I designed it with idea of using, actually, this is not Lerdge dual hot handing. It's 2-in-1 also, but the difference between this 2-in-1 and the Lerdge one is that this one you can only mix them, right? You can mix them. Also, you can do one for each other, right? Because here you can see there is these tubes that they are going to meet here in the hot hand. For the Lerdge, I asked, since we don't have the firmware, we cannot mix we don't have the option to mix two filaments. So this one was not very effective. Actually, I have some samples that I did. It have blue and white, but the white part is so dirty mixed with the blue. Like if you can see here, there's some mixed color because this mixing hot hand here is so difficult for one color to pass without touching the other one. The filaments are always touching each other, so it's always dragging a little bit of the other color. Yeah, we can do just retract one color and just use the other one. But we have another problem. When you retract one color, the filaments from this side will melt and go to the other side, and then we'll have under extrusion. Filament from one side was going to the other side until it came all in the PTFE tube. It looks like a filament, but actually it was a melted filament from one side that was pushing it. It came out the other side, and then in my print I had under extrusion. So I didn't like the idea of using this. So the best idea was to using the Lerdge one here. That one makes more sense to us to use because at least we will not have filaments pushing from one side to the other one. Y type. Actually, you guys can even print it. I saw some models in the printables. You can just print it if you want, but I just went through the Lerdge one. I'm in my final prototypes. I always test before I share with you guys because I want to make sure that when you use it, it will just work. But I need to also be clear. Dual color printing is not for everyone. You need to have some DIY skills. You need to not be scared of messing up your printer, opening and doing some screws, soldering, because as you can see here, I have dual fans, right? But the dual fans is not necessary. If you want, you can use it with just one fan. I made this enclosure actually modular. You can see here, if you want, you can use just one side. This just one blower fan for model cooling is already enough, to be honest. But I went a little bit more crazy. I added one more, so I make sure that my model will be cooled from both sides. Talking about the fan, I didn't use the one from the Lerdge because this fan is way too much noisy. So I decided to buy this one here. I'll put the link, actually not link, I'll put the picture over here. You guys will go and buy any. Even it's taller and bigger than Lerdge one. Because this one is way quieter and way stronger. First day I got this printer, I was, oh my god, I need to change this fan because it's too loud, right? If you don't want to go to buy the 5010, I made also a model to fit your fan. So you just print it and use the fan that you are using. So you don't need to go to buy. I made it thinking some people don't want to buy a new fan, but they are pretty cheap, guys. And for the noise difference, it will be worth it to change it to this one. Believe me, it will just work also with the one that Lerdge gave you. But for my case, I'm going with the 5010 because it's pulling way more hair and it's quieter. And then I don't need to run them all the time at 100%. Actually, my maximum speed that I'm running them is only 80%. It's enough, and my model are coming perfect. And 80% of both of these fans, you will think, oh, they can be louder. No, they are super quiet. You don't need to worry about that. As I told you guys, this enclosure is modular, right? So you can add here 2 more screws, and then if you want, you can add 1 more fan here. But not this one. It's still 50-10. Both of them 50-10. For this one, I just did one side because if you don't want to add 2 fans, probably you just will use the large one. So I made a model for just one. And as I told you guys, one is enough. But if you want to go crazy like me, just print both of them and get 2 of these. They are pretty cheap. I live in China. I get them both for about $5. Yes, $5 for both of them. There are another fans that I wanted to add to my configuration, but I didn't add it because I don't think it blows so strong like the 50-10. This one is 40-10. It doesn't blow so strong like 50-10. I'm sure about that, but it's super quiet. This, I'm sure, is super quiet. This one you can run 2 of them and you don't need to worry about the noise at all. You cannot listen to them. Probably I will do one model and just try it out, and if it's effective, I can use it also. Because they are smaller, they can take less volume, so my model maybe will be skinnier. I can even make a model that I will make it inside of the enclosure. That's the idea. Okay guys, let's continue. This video will be quite a long video. Probably I will divide it in 2 parts. So far, what I explained to you guys. Okay, let me talk a little bit about my models. I can use the linear rails and connect these parts, right? If you already have the linear rails, you know that you have to print this part. Let me screw it. Okay, there's this part that Lerdge already gave us the model, right? I redesigned this part already inside of this back, so we don't need to worry about attaching attaching it, right? I designed it already here. As I told you guys, first I have these 2 holes here for linear rails, and then I made also holes to use the normal HotEnd that came the default one, just in case if you want just to mess around with the small one, or if you plan later to get the large one, you can still install it and you can still use the normal one that your printer came with, right? You can just use it normal, and then you have the enclosure here. It will go perfect here inside. You need to have the screws to make the distance between them, the one that you already have that came with this one, and then you can just print with this one if you want. But I made it with idea of using dual extrusion, of course. And then if you can see here in the head, we have a hole and we have a space here for the second extruder. And then guys, here's the part. I made it in 2 different type of extruder. I look around on internet, I couldn't find anybody that use a Bowden extruder, a direct drive extruder, because most of the board software, 3D printed board software, will not allow you to configure different stepper in your printer. But the large one can let you to put different values for different extruder. That's awesome. Without this, I couldn't make a direct extruder and a Bowden extruder. So this is totally win in the software side from Lerdge. So as you can see here, we can connect one extruder, direct drive extruder. It will look like this one. And the other side will be the HotEnd extruder that you already had, that comes with our printer, right? So right now, if you want to do the dual color, you must have the second extruder. You can also use a HotEnd extruder or any other brand that you have, but I tried this model only with the Lerdge directly drive extruder and is working perfect with this model. About the other fans that comes for the HotEnd, you can still use your fan. I have one here that have LED colors on it, but that is just an extra, not necessary. And they are not so loud as the blower fan. Actually, the loudest fan is this one. But in my printer, I change every fan from it. I even changed the fan in the power supply. Now I just get about 40-80 dB, so it's a huge improvement in noise. So be careful when you change in the fan. Make sure you get a good fan that will not mess up your board, because if the board is messed up, how can we print, right? After, guys, you need to print a new end stop. Let me try to focus it. You need to print a new end stop that's a little longer. Otherwise, your HotEnd will crash in the bed. You need to install this one. I already changed it for a longer one. Focus. Okay, I already changed it because this enclosure is a little bigger, so you'll be a little closer to the build to the bed. So you need to print this one first. This is a must. If you want to use this setup, you must print this one. I'll put all the files, STL files. You can just go and download. First thing print is this one. You can print them all together, but don't miss this one, otherwise you will crash. And don't quote me on that, don't blame me on that, okay? After you print this one, you can just install it, and then you print the other parts that you need. Oh, I didn't show you this thing has a cover. I put an eye on it to give it more life, because why not? Now, without further ado, let me show you how to install it. Okay, guys, the printer is here. Now I need to find a good angle to show you guys the installation. By the way, guys, I don't know how many of you already downloaded my model of lights, and I would recommend you to do it because it's the best way to feed your direct driver, since the bonding tube will be used by the second step on motor, so you can feed your direct driver filaments from the top. Because I designed this light bar with the idea if you can pass your filaments from the top, so it already have a filament guide to pass your filaments and you can feed your direct driver. Here we are going first to disassemble it, so I will assemble it so you can see how to do it from very scratch. I want to change this base here. As you can see, I have it in orange. I want to change it to the black, and I want to install this new model that I printed, just to make sure the one that I'm sharing with you guys, it works perfect. And I will install also the new model of fan that I just printed. The older one, the lips is a little bit shorter, this one is longer. As you can see here, the older one, it comes almost touching the HotEnd. But this new one, hopefully, if it fits perfectly, it will go almost next to the tip of the end. So if not, I will change it again. M38. Now, the last part, we need to remove the HotEnd. But to remove the HotEnd, we need to unscrew this small part that's connected to the direct extruder and the hot end is outside. Now this is the Lerdge 2-in-1 version 1 of dual extruder, dual color, right? As I told you guys, is a Y type. It comes one in the side, the other side. In the middle there's one tube. So in the software we need to retract while we print one color and retract while print the other color. And I already measure the distance between the beginning of the tube to the end. I added this value in the slicer, so the retraction will be perfect. You'll never have problem. Now let me remove the direct extruder, direct drive. I just use one screw here because the other side, if I had another one, will be difficult for me to use the second tube, PTFE tube. So I just use one, is enough actually. It's sturdy and it doesn't come out. This is a M310. For now, I'm going to remove it from the linear rails. There's two, oh, it's pretty tight actually. There's two screws here that are M10 also. Total disassemble. This is the old prototype. It will be in the archive of prototypes. Okay, now this part is all out, but as you can see here, I have these two small ones that it will be for the normal hot end. Let me show you. This is the 2-in-1 big large hot end, and it will go exactly here. But the smaller normal hot end that you already have with your Lerdge, it's supposed to be like this. The smaller one, you can still use it. As you can see, I designed it with idea of using both if you want to use this one or if you want to use this one, right? You just need to have this small nut here inside, and this small nut here is 5, this one is 10, okay? This one is 5 and this one is 10. You just need to install the 5 one. There's this screw in the behind here, and you can print with it. Actually, I already used it one time because I didn't have this one. I was waiting for it, so I used this one. I used my printer normal, but just with this one. So if you don't have this one yet, just go ahead, print every system and use it with your normal hot end. Now let's put every new thing together. First, I need two nuts here, M3 nuts. These ones, they will be the part that will connect with this block. I forgot how you call it. Anyway, it will be the part that will connect with it. So I use some nuts here. As you can see, it will be strong, it will not turn around. Guys, as you can see, the screws are already all put in this base that I printed, and now I'm going to attach it to the linear rail. These 4 screws will go align with the base. I'm using the M10 screws. Oh, I forgot one thing. The cable of the fan should come here, guys. Don't forget that. The cable, the fan cable, second fan cable. Guys, about the second fan, I need to teach you also how to connect them. The second fan is just, you can put 2 fans together, but I need to teach you in the cable parts how to do it. But this is for the next video. For now, let's focus in installing this. And this longer one is for the second fan, so it's supposed to come here, come from inside to outside, okay, because the fan will be outside, right? and here, yes, the fan. Now you can just screw it. Make sure that the fan first is fan cable is inside, otherwise you will have the cable dangling outside. It's not beautiful and it can collide with your printing parts, right? When you are printing. As you can see right now, the enclosure is connected to the base. I'm going to use the new, which one is the new? Okay, I have three here. This one is the new one. I'm going to use it. But this one, I recommend you to use the flat head, otherwise the fan here will be like pushing back. So use the flat head one if you have. If not, you can work around with what you have. The fan will just click here. If you can see, you can just click here and you can put the fan inside of this hole with M25 here. It will go through both of these holes. Guys, it's not so difficult actually. Once you print every part, you have it with you, you'll see it's easy to put them together. Maybe like this. Yes, it's good. So the fan is tight, the fan is stable, and as you can see here, the second fan blower is here. The first one will come in the side, but before we install the first one, let's put the base connected to the linear rails. Put one more M10 here. I don't know if you guys can see. It should come now in the linear rails. As you can see here, is installed. The next step, what we do? The next step, now we need to charge the other battery before this one dies, so I can continue recording. The next step, we should install this HotEnd here inside, and this HotEnd needs a M16 to come to the nuts that we already installed inside. Okay, I don't know if you can see here, we need this M16, and this part will come in this side because the direct drive will stay on this side. Okay, so we need to remove one of these, I don't know how to call them, but we need to open them. Guys, a very important thing you need to do when you get this linear rail, you need to put a PTFE tube here. I already put one. Put a PTFE tube that will just go right, sit right on there, as this one. Both of them, I have PTFE tubes, so like this will not have clogs and problems later. So now we are going to put this HotEnd here. Okay, as you can see here, we have the dual fan. Right now we asking the question where we connect the dual fan, because we just have the cable for one fan, but the fans, actually you can connect two cables of fan together. Just put the positive and positive, red and red, black and black, and you can use something to keep them together. I'm using tape on top, but inside there's some electric thing to separate them. You can solder them if you want, or if not, just put two cables together, and the head will be this one. The male head will just connect with the normal fan thing here, and that's all. Now let's organize this mess. By the way, when I finish, we'll still have so many cable exposed. I don't really like it. That's why I printed this part, so I can cover it, cover the mess. I can share also the link to print this one if you want. Okay guys, when we finish installing this part, now he's here. We have this small cable that's for the direct drive. There's a small hole here inside of my enclosure, the designing. You can just pass this cable here inside of this hole, is a bit tight, but it will pass. Just put it ahead. Actually, you could done this before you even install the base, the back base here in the linear rails, but I already put it, I forgot. It will still pass. It will still pass, but you need to push a little bit with the tweezer. So I advise you, before you connect the enclosure to the base, first pass this cable and pass the fan cable here. Now the extruder cable is outside, right? Because the extruder should be outside, of course. It will be connected here. Now let's put the HotEnd on place and the other fan on place, okay? The other fan doesn't need to pass the cable to any place. The fan will pass, the cable of this fan will pass right here in front. That's why I designed here the front. There's a small space so the cable can go without become pressed or smashed in between the parts and the cable. We are almost done, guys. And this cable here inside, you can manage them to not be in your way or to touch the hot place of HotEnd. We need to connect the extruder, the direct extruder. Let's connect it with this M10 screw. Let's put it higher and it will pass here in this hole. It will pass perfectly in this hole. Okay, there's a special hole for M10 screw and M10 now, M310, sorry guys. And then you can tighten it. You can tighten it. If you see, it will wiggle a little bit, and that's okay because we need it to wiggle because when we put the HotEnd, it needs to fit in there. This small thing, small difference with this wiggle is okay, but don't worry, it will not come out and is really sturdy. It's time to use our M16 to connect the Lerdge 2-in-1 HotEnd with the case. Oh, it is aligned, but maybe I need to open a little bit this part. So the direct extruder, yes, I needed to open it, it was too tight. This one is aligned. Now the HotEnd is tightened in the base, and the HotEnd also will be tightened in the direct extruder when I tighten this part of, yeah, now it's tightened in the direct extruder. Now what we need to do is put this pile here. I designed it that this thing will just go here inside perfectly, as you can see. And let's put our fan back to its place. The fan is back. Now let's just tighten everything and the HotEnd will be totally assembled, but we need to install also our BL Touch. BL Touch is optional. I don't think everyone will install BL Touch because it's actually quite tricky on this printer, but if you install it, it will be better. We need to install the fan, and to install the fan I use this M10 nuts, long nuts, M10 long nuts. I will put the fan first. If we don't put this M10, this thing will be more inside, but if you put the M10, it will be outside, which I think is a better way of cooling the full enclosure. After we finish the installation of the HotEnd and the direct driver and the fans, now it's time for us to put the PTFE tube to the direct driver and the PTFE tube that comes from the HotEnd extruder. And guys, I designed two types of this cover. One that can support BL Touch, because I know some of you guys like to use BL Touch, and one more without the BL Touch. I didn't make any for Finder Probe because I don't have it here to test it out, but probably in the future I can do one for it, but first I need to get one. Which will bring me also to ask you guys, if this project is helping you somehow, please consider in making a donation. It can be any amount that you want, so I can continue making good stuffs like this. I can continue making more projects, because this kind of project, it requires a lot of time and material also. So please consider in making little donation. I put the link in the description. Go there, and for those of you that are using the process slicer, I'm about to upload my configuration so you guys can just use my configuration in process slicer to get the perfect first dual color print, because for dual color print there's a lot going on in the slicer. And I plan to follow up this video making a new video showing you guys how I configure my Lerdge IX so I can take better advantage of this dual color print. And also I will show you each configuration in process slicer and why I choose to use them. So subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. Peace.